Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today we are breaking down quite possibly the greatest cope session of all time on MMA YouTube. And let me just say this, as an MMA YouTuber, I thought I seen it all. I watched Kenny Okoye cry his heart out after Alex Pereira knocked out Magomed Ankalaev in the first round. I watched MMA Guru call his live viewers inbreds in his chat after Islam Makhachev defeated Jack Della Maddalena. I've even broken down Andrew Tate's delusional cope session following his loss to Chase Damore. But what I am going to cover today triumphs every single one of them because Mourne Visser might be the most delusional coper I have ever seen. Now, before I break down this generational cope session, allow me to explain who Mourne Visser is. For those of you who do not know, Mourne Visser is the head coach of the former middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis. And although Mourne Visser has been an instrumental piece to Dricus' success, I would say that Visser's coaching methods are rather unorthodox.
This is my assistant coach, this one. So if they up, I help them fix the problem.
But still, it is hard to criticize Visser's strange methods, considering DDP has been winning a lot of fights where he has been looked at as a heavy underdog. But following DDP's loss to Khamzat Chimaev, Mourne Visser has been coping nonstop in front of the media, and basically, I just don't know how Mourne Visser was able to get DDP into the championship setting with a delusional mindset like this.
Usually what I do is when we've got a bit of a off time in our gym, I send the guys abroad, not so much to go and learn, but to go and test.
Now, when you hear fighters and coaches talking about training in Thailand, moving to Thailand for a couple of weeks, they're usually doing that so both the fighters and the coaches can learn new techniques from arguably the greatest striking coaches in the world. But Mourne Visser sends his guys over like DDP and Cameron Simon not to learn from the best strikers in the world, but to test what they've learned in South Africa in Thailand. How does that make any sense? I don't understand. If you truly wanted to test what you've learned in South Africa, you could do that anywhere else in the world, alright? You can do that in the States, you could do that in England, you could do that in Russia. I don't care. You do not need to go to Thailand to do so because Thailand, again, there's so much to learn when it comes to striking martial arts. For goodness sakes, they practically invented Muay Thai there. Now, if this is all Mourne Visser had to say, I would not bother to make this video, but when Mourne Visser is asked about the adjustments he's making following the loss to Khamzat Chimaev, this is what Mourne Visser had to say out of everything he could have said.
Easy fixes. We were just not prepared. It sounds stupid what I'm going to say now, but we were not prepared. We've never been prepared to fight a guy who's not willing to fight.
Now, if you're a bloke like me who just sits on his couch watching UFC fights and not actually fighting in the octagon, alright, I would completely understand this take because at the end of the day, we are watching this for entertainment, and what Khamzat Chimaev did to DDP was not entertaining to say the least. But as a MMA coach, someone who's directly affecting the path that their fighters are going to take in the UFC, alright, someone who's like a critical piece in determining whether or not their fighter can be a championship caliber fighter or not, you cannot say this. Like, at the end of the day, Khamzat Chimaev exposed the fact that DDP does not know how to get up from the ground when taken down. And Mourne Visser, rather than addressing that critical issue, Mourne Visser immediately criticizes the performance Khamzat Chimaev put. Alright, if you have so much time to criticize Khamzat Chimaev's performance, how about you understand that DDP got outclassed that night and actually help him develop the skills necessary to get up from bottom and not be put on side control for 20 plus minutes. But it gets even worse because Mourne Visser later on in this interview suggests that Dricus has wrestling that's good enough to counteract Khamzat Chimaev's wrestling.
If we knew he was going to try to just do that, I would have changed Dricus's base. No punches, no kicks, just flip and wrestle the guy. And Dricus is good enough to do that.
Really, nigga?
Like, I am not trying to be disrespectful in any way, but I think anybody who's seen the fight once, even months back when it actually happened, I think anybody who actually watched the fight can tell you that Dricus is not out wrestling Khamzat Chimaev. Alright, I don't think that's even possible at this point. Alright, now there was the entertainment of DDP grappling Khamzat Chimaev when we were talking about predictions for this fight, but now that we've seen it happen, nobody should believe that DDP can out wrestle Khamzat Chimaev. Alright, that is not possible in the slightest. But it doesn't even stop there, because as I continued watching this generational cope session, I thought I was watching the MMA guru cope. Alright, that's what it felt like to me, because there's no way a professional MMA coach who is supposed to train his fighter to prepare for any scenario in an MMA fight would be saying this in front of a national audience.
Against Dricus with the stand-up, zero. He's got zero chance with Dricus in the clinch. His only chance is to keep us on the floor. So that's the only thing we need to fix.
Like, I want to say a couple of things, alright? Mainly the fact that, DDP just has to keep the fight standing, or he has no chance on the feet. And sure, I would say that DDP is the much better striker, but to say that there's no chance in an MMA fight, because Khamzat Chimaev, like, you could say that his striking isn't the highest level, but he's not really been tested in the striking until he fights, like, elite-level wrestlers, and he's been able to outstrike those elite-level wrestlers for the most part. So I think Khamzat Chimaev's striking is actually pretty underrated, to say the least. But also, why are you saying that, we just need to prevent Khamzat Chimaev from holding us there? You do realize, other than your fight, alright, other than Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns, Khamzat Chimaev has submitted or ground and pound TKO'd everybody he's fought within the first 2 rounds. He couldn't submit Dricus. Therefore he has no submission ability. Like, no, dog. He literally buzzsawed through Robert Whittaker's jaw in the first round right before fighting Dricus. So to sit here and say that all we have to do is not get held down, no, dog. You need to work on your grappling, like, entirely. So do not come here and say that, Dricus would win the rematch because he just doesn't have to get taken down and he just has to keep the fight standing. Like, no, that's not how this works. That's really not how this works. And the fact that Mourne Visser, rather than just being objective about his fighter based on what has happened, he's giving us delusional cope and delusional belief. Alright, delusional belief in Dricus to an unhealthy extent. It just tells me that Dricus is ultimately being held back by this guy because he's refusing to allow Dricus to learn from other people. He's refusing to hold accountability for lack of preparation, and he is refusing to admit that Khamzat Chimaev, although he had a boring fight with Dricus exclusively, for the most part, Khamzat Chimaev's actually pretty entertaining, and he gets pretty fast finishes, alright? So even if DDP just works up and gets back up using his wrestling, like, there's a good chance Khamzat Chimaev can submit him there, alright? I just don't understand why Mourne Visser is doing this, but Mourne Visser is seeming to give us the most delusional cope session of all time in 2026, alright? I don't even need to look at the rest of the year to know for a fact that this is the most delusional cope session of the year by far. Alright, that's gonna be it for this video. If you guys want to see more videos like this, please make sure to like and subscribe so we can monetize this channel. But on a side note though, I'm saying all of this as a fan of DDP. I really do enjoy watching DDP fight, and I was sad when Khamzat Chimaev beat DDP. But still though, like, you can't be going out here saying stuff like this and expect DDP to do better in a possible hypothetical rematch. Which, I'm gonna be frank, I don't think the UFC is ever gonna give DDP a rematch against Khamzat Chimaev. But still though, if he does get it, this delusional mindset is not gonna help him to beat Khamzat Chimaev in the rematch. I'm sorry. Alright, but I hope DDP improves. Alright, I really hope that he wins the rematch, but judging from this interview from his head coach, Mourne Visser, I do not think that is very likely, to say the least. But otherwise though, leave any comments down below for any video ideas so I can make them in the future. And otherwise, I will see you guys next time. Peace.